This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Al-Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Good afternoon. Yes, you're listening to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. This is the one and only place where we bring you the latest in robotics, artificial intelligence, gadgets, and applications. All that you need to know about what's happening in the tech world, in the UAE and around the world is being brought to you right here on Pulse 95. Lots of big news happening when it comes to Apple because they have decided to delay their anti-tracking privacy measures. Now, this is definitely causing a lot of questions to be asked.
Yes, we're also going to be talking about how UAE residents can soon welcome a friendly robot. Now, we do love our robots right here on Future Talk, and now soon enough, UAE residents will have a new friendly robot in their house, in the street, in the mall. Who knows?
Yes, indeed. The new family member is going to be coming to town pretty soon. But coming up on Future Talk as well, we're talking about a hacking situation. A Florida teen that allegedly shut down remote schools by using his hacking skills. Now, this is one I'm sure Hani is excited to talk about as well.
Yes, I'm super excited to talk about this, as we do know that schools are back in session and a lot of teens actually don't want to go to school. So we're going to tell you guys how this Florida teen did all he could do to not attend school online.
Yes, indeed. But coming up on Future Talk as well, for all those book lovers and bookworms, there is a very new and easy way for you to get your favorite books in physical copies at a discounted price. How and where can you do that right here in Sharjah? We're going to be giving you all those details in just a few moments.
And also, we're going to let you guys meet the 8-foot-tall robot that is designed to insert Elon Musk's Neuralink AI brain chip. Now, we did talk about yesterday how there was a lot of a robotic arm that was used to do surgery. But now we have an 8-foot-tall robot that's going to insert that Neuralink right in your brain.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I personally wouldn't trust it, but the question is, would you trust it? Make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked because lots and lots is in store right here on Future Talk.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
We're talking about Apple and how they're delaying a new anti-tracking privacy measure. Now, Apple has delayed the implementation of new privacy measures which are designed to stop apps and websites tracking people online without their consent. Now, Omnia, we do know that I'm a beta tester.
Yes.
And I do have iOS 14.
Did you find the feature?
Yes, Omnia. So, for example, let's say I'm on Instagram and I want to upload a photo.
Okay.
I want to post a photo on my story and I want to go through my library. It's going to ask me to allow access to my whole photo library or just have access to a selected photo.
I love that because we never got that feature before.
And if I want to save an image, Omnia, it's going to ask me, would you like the website or the application to have access to your photos or just have access to download this photo?
That's a lot of details, though.
That's a lot.
It's a very
it's very detailed
process.
Now, if you do trust an app or a software developer, you just keep that option always open, that whatever pictures are being sent or received, to always accept them. It goes on all apps, whether it's WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. Any app that you want to upload a picture or download a picture is going to ask you whether or not you would like to give permission to that app.
Now, that's great news for all those who are iPhone users and who worry about their privacy being breached from very simple apps that you may never think twice whenever you allow them access to your files. But these changes also mean that every single application will be asking a user's permission to access the ad tracking ID on our iPhones or iPads. So lots and lots of precise reading is required from all of the iPhone users. But these measures were due to arrive in the latest iOS 14 update in the autumn, which we were all excitedly waiting for. Hani actually tried out the beta version of it, and he so far likes it.
I like it.
But
one of the most things that I like about iOS 14 is that if someone calls me, it's not going to interrupt anything that I'm doing, and now I can ignore calls
I was just
so
say
much
that.
better. I don't have to wait 4 hours
until the call ends.
And the call ends, because I think it's a 45-second or 30-second window that someone is calling. It does feel like 4 hours.
I know, and that's one of the best features about the newest updates. But Apple did say that these changes were being delayed until the start of 2021. So this is going to give all app developers and websites more time to adapt their services. So this has been causing a lot of controversy all over social media, because once Apple announced that they were going to be delaying the launch of this feature, many people were like, what's good with Apple? You know, what is their ulterior motives to not launching it in time? Facebook did warn that Apple's privacy plan could make one of its advertising tools so ineffective on iOS 14 that it may not make sense to offer it on iOS 14. Now, we all know that Facebook does love tracking down everything that we like, everything that we enjoy purchasing, whether it is opening up a certain online store on your Google search, or even if it's using a certain app or looking up a certain feature. So Facebook not being able to track all of your moves is definitely not going to make them happy.
Facebook did change the game with data tracking and data storage and tracking users' purchases or Google searches or whatever search they were doing. And they did change the game, and they made every social network kind of do the same. But what is Apple changing? Now, Apple devices do include the iPhone, iPad, Apple TV box, and they all have a unique ID, which is known as the identifier for advertisers, which is called the IDAF, and it does help monitor the effectiveness of an advertising campaign. For example, it can determine whether somebody downloaded an app after seeing an ad. Now, Android does have a similar tool, which is known as the Android advertising ID as well. So we're seeing that now they're changing that up, and they're making it kind of, because I mean, we've seen a lot of softwares, a lot of social media apps being under fire from courts, from regulators saying, hey, listen, you can't always download all the data of a user. Privacy concern is a real thing.
Absolutely. But when it comes to companies, this is something they deeply crave and they deeply yearn for, because whenever they're looking to create a campaign, they want to put it on a platform that they know people are going to be most, they're going to be lured for the most to download, whether it's an app that we're talking about or even just a regular brand. But once this change is implemented in 2021, it will be off by default, and advertisers will actually have to ask permission to access it. Let us know, are you excited to have a piece of your privacy back? Or are you one of those small businesses that used to actually depend on users' information to be able to sell their products? But let's move on to talk a little bit about the newest family member of every UAE family that's coming soon.
Do you have 999 dirhams to spare, Omnia? Because if you do, we can hook you up with a robot called Misa, which can help children and the elderly and understands up to 10 languages.
I'm interested to see the name, because I read it at the beginning as Misa or Misa.
Yeah, Misa.
But then I think it's called Misa.
Mesa.
Because I don't know.
Where'd the A go?
Misa, like Misa.
Yeah.
You know the name? Misa
Yeah, I
ends
know.
with a Hamza, which
Yeah, but
is
this
like
is
the A.
Misa.
Mesa.
Mesa in English is Maisa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. I had a couple of
okay.
Mesas in university. That's how their name was
makes
spelled.
sense.
But
Okay.
maybe they have something different in mind.
Maybe. Who knows? If you want to make it, give an Arabic twist on it, I think it would be interesting to call it Mesa. But UAE residents can actually start welcoming this social robot that's called Mesa, or Misa, I think is what we agreed on, to their homes from the 20th of October. So we still have a little bit of time to wait, but the wait will be worth it, because this robot will be able to respond to all of your commands. You can call her, hey Misa. She can do a lot of jobs. She can teach children, she can play, she can handle all of your daily schedules and tasks, and she can even offer home automation.
So, Omnia, I did just Google search about the name Misa.
Okay.
Okay, so apparently it is a Japanese anime character.
Ooh.
And does come from Japanese origin. And to say Misa, it's called, you can say as My, S-A, Misa, or Misa.
Misa or Misa. I like that.
It's from Japanese origin, and just like Omnia said, it can respond to hey Misa or Misa or whatever you want to call it, and play and teach children. But I mean, it does come programmed with 10 languages, which are French, English, Dutch, German, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean. Now, the robot does come from iLife, which is currently developing Misa to communicate in Arabic as well. So soon enough,
Can we get a woohoo?
Soon enough, you're going to have a full package robot.
Yes, indeed. Misa can even take care of elderly, so she can support elderly care, and you won't have to teach it multiple languages because she comes built in with 10 of them. So the vision of Misa the robot is to actually create a very family-oriented robot that can be easily integrated. She can deal with the kids. She can help keep elderly company, but she can also blend right into your family as a friend, as a teacher, as a homemaker, and as an entertainer. She does come at a hefty price of about 1,000 dirhams, 999. But I feel
in comparison with other robots we've seen on the show, other robots we've seen on social media, she does come at a pretty reasonable price for what kind of technology and communication she or he will be providing to that family. And again, it can be a companion for your children, for the elderly as well.
Yeah, and the best part about it is you can even prep her in advance. So if you know you're going to be leaving to the office the night before, you can preload her with thousands of hours of books, of games, of learning apps. So your kids will have screen time, but with a benefit. And as I mentioned before, she can even provide elderly care. So it's basically like having a nurse 24/7. Let us know. The most important question, would you get Misa right here in the UAE?
And you know what I like about it as well? That it does come preloaded with thousands of hours of safe, and you know what the most important thing is, Omnia? Ad-free games, books, and learning apps with videos.
I love that. That's the best part about it, because no one wants to sit down and listen to useless ads as they wait for their game to load. Let us know, would you get Misa yourself? And we just want to remind you that we are also live on YouTube, so you can actually tune in and see the behind the scenes of what happens in a Pulse 95 studios right here on Future Talk.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
We all know that kids may not be the most excited to go to school, but there are kids that would whine about it, and then there are kids that would take action to prevent themselves from going to school. One teen, though, took matters into his own hands and did that on a much larger scale.
Yes, a big time, Omnia. Now we're talking about how a student was arrested in connection with cyber attacks on Miami-Dade public schools. Now, for those who don't know, Miami-Dade is in Florida, and he is a Florida teen. And a student has been arrested in connection with a series of cyber attacks on public schools that have disrupted the district's first week of online classes. Now, this student is only 16 years old, 16, and is a junior at South Miami Senior High School, and was arrested last Thursday morning and does face charges of computer use in attempt to defraud and interference with an educational institution. Now, what did he do? He did a DDoS attack, which means a direct denial of service attack. Now, what does that actually do? So what's happening is he is sending millions and millions of bytes and megabytes and gigabytes from a group of zombie computers. They call them zombie computers because they can be computers in a library. They're sending all this information to a server or to a router.
Overloading the
server and a router, thus making it crash, and then no one can get access to those servers. Now, Omnia, this has blown out of so much proportion that the FBI and Secret Service were called in to investigate, along with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And he did say that the glitch had been completely resolved and optimized, but he caused so much corruption and confusion and chaoticness in that Miami-Dade County District that they had to call in the FBI and Secret Service. And some people are even saying that this kid is not acting alone.
Oh, now this is where things become very worrisome, because detectives were actually able to trace and track down the IP address that was responsible for the attacks back to that teenager's home. But as you mentioned, Hani, he had some buddies and some friends helping him out. Now, the teen did admit to using a tool to attack the district's computer network, so at least he owned up to his mistakes. But the officials did say that the teen is responsible for at least 8 of those attacks. So investigators are working to determine whether other individuals besides the teen are also responsible.
Yes, Omnia, and they're actually saying that they could have intentionally or potentially have connections with Russia, the Ukraine, China, Iraq, and maybe others. So a lot of countries are coming into play with this DDoS attack. Now, Omnia, I was introduced onto direct denial of service attacks back when I was 15 years old. I knew about them because I used to play a game.
Now I'm concerned. What were you doing
No, I
with
used to.
DDoS attacks?
I used to play a game, and sometimes other players would DDoS me personally, my router, and other people's routers to get an advantage on the game. And funny enough, law enforcement didn't actually know. This was back in 2009, 2010. A lot of people, the internet was still brand new. A lot of things were coming brand new. And now you can be jailed and fined for it. Now, there was a story about another 21 or 22-year-old who DDoSed a bank and got 25 years to life because he caused millions, if not billions of dollars in damage. Now, one of the charges the teen can face is a third-degree felony that if prosecutors in the U.S. moved into an adult court, it could result up to 5 years in prison. But so far, the attorney's office said there was no decision on that.
Now, the thing is, with such attacks, it doesn't take much for a teenager or even a young adult to be able to do them. These attacks are very sophisticated, but they have a very deep impact. And the acquisition for you to be able to do such an attack, whether it was on a school or, as you mentioned earlier, on a bank, it doesn't take much for a teenager to learn how to do them.
And Omnia, the ease of access to acquire a DDoSer, which is the program they call, I think they call it a botnet or a DDoSer. It's very easy. You can pay a subscription fee of $50, and we're talking about the dark web. Subscription fee of $50 where someone will give you a website or a link to use. It's not a program. Some people even use a website. And all you have to do is enter the IP address of whatever you want to attack, and it'll tell you, hey, how many robots or zombies do you want to be sending files to this server or this router? It can go up to 5, which is slow internet, all the way up to 1 million servers, 1 million robots.
Man, this is
or
crazy.
bots.
Just to think that.
And I can acquire one right now, Omnia.
Okay.
Anyone can acquire one. It's simple.
I'm reconsidering our friendship.
It's very simple to acquire one. All you got to do is go on the dark web, Omnia, and pay the subscription fee. But nowadays, obviously, if you pay for a premium, which can go for $3,000 to $5,000, undetected, and a lot of websites did face it. Now, sometimes, Omnia, I don't know if you're on random websites, it will give you a little bit loading before you can enter, because it will say checking if you are having a direct denial of service attack being used on the website.
Now, whenever we're talking about such attacks, and for those of you who are interested in protecting themselves against those attacks, ways of prevention can be a bit difficult. They can be a bit pricey. But one of the easiest way is for you to buy more bandwidth, because such a form of protection could actually save your computer and save your router at the same time.
Exactly. Some people have fried routers.
Oh, God.
They have ruined the motherboard of a router. They have ruined everything in a router. It's serious. There used to be threats online. I'll fry your router.
Oh my God.
It's that bad. It's a simple yet very effective way to target someone and ruin their day. You're going to ruin their day.
I mean, but this teenager, like, okay, I understand you hating going back to school because it's back to responsibilities and back to hard work, but to take it to that extent, to ruin the year for so many kids, at least for the very first few days.
I mean, obviously this kid did not like school, and
not at all.
he had the correct, he had the right people or right programs to do this wrongful thing. Now, I don't condone any of this, but I mean, I find it interesting, and it just goes to show crime doesn't pay, because the FBI Secret Service got into it. Now, when we're talking about the FBI and Secret Service, those are not the little boys. We're talking about the big guys. The big guys came with the big computers and the big brains. They're like, hey, listen, we're going to catch you, little kid. And they did catch this 16-year-old. And I mean, it's crazy what people will do to kind of have some fun. I mean, imagine if he used all this information, all this work to better himself or even learn coding or programming.
Become a white hacker.
White hat hacker, yes.
Why do you have to go on the other route? Why do we have to create damage with our knowledge? Let us know. Have you heard of this teen that created a DDoS attack on this school? And he did it all remotely. So he actually shut it down completely remotely.
Now, a lot of people, Omnia, are comparing it to pulling a fire alarm back in high school.
Oh, yes.
So we'll talk about 15 years ago to 20 years ago. If you don't want to go to school, you pull the fire alarm.
Now, what have kids become to? Like, wow,
it's the day and age, Omnia. I'll tell you, technology is a crazy thing. If you don't understand it, you better do, because life comes at you fast.
You're definitely right about that. Coming up on Future Talk, we're going to be talking all about Sharjah and being able to make the most out of reading books. This is definitely going to be great news for all those who absolutely hate reading ebooks. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Pulse 95.
Apps all around.
What's worth a click and download?
Don't you just wish sometimes if you could have a magic shelf that would come up with new books every time you have finished reading your old books, or if you have children, every time your children outgrew the old ones, to help nurture their love for reading books and without necessarily having to make expensive trips to the bookstore or the bookshelf every single time they run out of books. Now, even though magical shelves sadly don't exist, we do have a website that could become your next magical shelf. This website is called Bookends.
Yes, Omnia. Now, I believe reading books is the building block of self-improvement and discovering yourself and a lot of self-discipline, Omnia.
I agree with you on that, but I have a question for you. Would you go for an ebook? I kind of know the answer, but still. Would you go for an ebook or would you go for a physical book?
Okay, and I'm going to answer your question with all honesty, Omnia.
Okay.
Now, I've had an iPad where I had various ebooks on it and
A Kindle or an iPad?
an iPad
Okay.
with various ebooks on it that I would read through. And unfortunately, I would get distracted with notifications. I would kind of, my eyes would hurt a little bit. I would kind of feel always the need to be a little bit fidgety going through this, zooming into things, just kind of wasting time in a way while reading a book. I didn't focus too much on it. But when I switched back to physical copies of books, Omnia, there's a different feeling of when you go to a bookstore, you buy a book, you hold the book, you smell the book, touch, feel. You have to use your senses when you're reading a book. You need to be immersed into that story or into that self-help book or whatever it is. So in my humble opinion, books beat ebooks. Although ebooks are good for people who are always on the go, who are on airplanes, who always want to have thousands of books at the touch of their fingertips when they're always on the go.
I definitely agree with you on that one. And this is the reason why Bookends actually came to life. So Bookends is a website that allows users to buy and sell pre-owned books at discounted price. This website is based right here in Sharjah. So to all those who live in Sharjah, it's going to be great news, but you can also use it in no matter which emirate you live in. Now, around the world, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, we witnessed people become more inclined to read simply because they wanted time off of the screen. You know, we were working online from home. We were studying from home online. Everything was done online. And whenever you want to give your eyes a little bit of a break, what would you do? You would go to use your physical book. But no one wants to spend a lot of money, especially if you are a bookworm who loves to read lots and lots of books. And this is why Bookends is the website that I believe everyone should actually try out, even if it's just once in your lifetime. Because whether you like making some money out of your own books, you can go ahead and sell them on the website. Or if you want to buy a used book, you're getting it at least 50% off.
Yes, Omnia, and the Bookends website does allow buyers across the UAE to browse through its collection of used books, place an order online, and pay cash on delivery. So you're not doing much. Whatever book you want, you buy it online, cash on delivery. It's quick, it's simple.
It's like an online bookstore.
Yes, and sellers can actually contact the founders. I mean, it's very important that you can contact the boss, and especially if you're a seller, through the website, Instagram, or even WhatsApp, to discuss the condition of the books and agree on a resale price. Now, a minimum of 50% markdown will be on the original retail price and is typically advised. Now, once the seller does decide on the price, Bookends will add its service fee of 5 dirhams per book. Now, this, again, Omnia, I want to come back and talk about a kind of a business aspect. Now, with the coronavirus pandemic, unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of businesses and companies shut down. But we're seeing in the pandemic, a lot of new businesses are coming up. A lot of people
True.
are getting new jobs. A lot of people are making a lot of money. So that just goes to show. Again, I always kind of try to spread positivity and let people know that the end is only when you want it to be the end.
It's crazy because it's called Bookends.
Yeah, the end is when you want it to be the end. But of course, as you can see, and you know, my number one quote to say, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Make the best out of your situation, regardless of what it is.
Absolutely.
So,
and especially during lockdown, people were actually making the best out of the situation by reading. Now,
I read a lot.
really?
I finished 4 books.
You constantly read, though. It's no difference.
Yeah, surprisingly, I haven't read it in like 3 weeks now.
Ooh,
Yes,
you
I
gotta
ha-
get back to you. Maybe you should check out new books on Bookends.
I have a lot of books.
But for those of you who are also interested in reading books in different languages, Bookends does help with that as well, because the collection of books that they have on the website actually comes. There are 7 languages that you can pick and choose from. Now, for those of you who are worried about contracting, God forbid, COVID-19 through exchanging books, which is always a risk whenever you're talking about physical books, just like the risk we take with money. What has been perfect in this situation is that all those books that are being sold to other users or that you are buying off of the website, they're all being disinfected before they are offered to be on sale. So all the safety measures are put in place in the time when you are exchanging the books. Now, once you actually buy a book from a seller, the books are also exposed to direct sunlight. So it's very similar to when we would use a UV machine to kill the COVID-19 virus. So they're exposed to ultraviolet light that can scan all of these books and make sure that they are disinfected very well. And I feel like, especially at a time when parents are looking for ways to keep their kids entertained, they don't want to necessarily hand them an iPad or hand them the phone, and they're also studying online or going through distance learning, reading a physical book could definitely help a lot with keeping them entertained.
And Omnia, right now, I am on the Bookends website and I'm looking through it, Omnia.
Yeah.
So far, I've went through various categories. The most expensive book is 20 dirhams.
There you go. I love the fact that one of the guidelines is if you want to sell a book, it has to be 50% off of its retail price. Because at
amazing.
the end of the day, it's a used book, you know? And books, I feel like, shouldn't be too expensive for someone to basically want to get out of it, not want to buy the book or make the payment or the commitment.
Of course, Omnia. Now, I mean, books are very important. It does help you discover yourself in a way. And I mean, again, we always need to know. I mean, obviously, reading books has kind of came out of fashion in a way because back in the day, Omnia, it was a form of entertainment to read. And I'm kind of sad when I say this.
Yeah.
But when people look at someone smart, they ask them, do you read books? When in fact, 100, 200 years ago, reading books was like watching TV, using Twitter,
True.
using Facebook, using social media. So books were a form of entertainment. And we need to understand that we need to go back and read books. Go back to the building blocks of raising your IQ, being aware. I mean, books can take you places.
Reading
Omnia.
facts rather than blog posts. That's been the sad reality of the day and age that we live in. And especially when ebooks became a thing, a lot of people stopped reading physical books. And as you mentioned, there's just a whole other magic to holding a physical book in your hand, getting to, write your notes if you want to write your notes, highlight certain aspects that you want to be able to go back to. Let us know, are you an ebook person or a physical book person? And when was the last time you read a book? Actually read a book, finished the book, and actually got a chance to reflect back on it? Let us know. Bookends is the website and the app of today. It's spelled as Bookends, ENDS.com. Let us know if you want to check it out. And coming up on Future Talk, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk using robots to put implants in our brains. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Today, we're going to introduce you to the 8-foot tall robot that is designed to insert Elon Musk's Neuralink AI brain chip. And we're going to tell you how it all works. Now, yes, you heard me correctly. An 8-foot tall robot.
Do you know why it's used? Or do you know why why did Elon Musk choose to use a robot to insert the Neuralink rather than a regular human being?
Because it's more sophisticated and
that's one answer.
Yeah, I think because it's more sensitive. Because it's not an easy task.
It's actually an easy task, but if you want to do it in a uniform way, if you want every chip in every person's brain to be in the exact same position, done in the exact same way, the best way to do it is to use a robot. And another reason I think is because it's cheaper. So if we were to say humans, let's say a set of 5 doctors would know how to insert that Neuralink, then those doctors would basically only be recruited to insert the Neuralink. But if you have multiple robots that can do the job, so
program, it's like drawing a line. Only if I draw a line, it might be a little bit straight, a little bit not. Yeah. So having a robot doing one certain thing programmed, because obviously robots will not act out of their programmed direction. So when you're programming a robot to do one specific thing, they're going to hit that target, hit that mark every single time. That's what Elon Musk is doing. And I still love how Elon Musk describes the Neuralink as a Fitbit in your skull. It's funny.
Exactly. And it actually is like a Fitbit in your skull. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Neuralink is basically a brain implant that Elon Musk is working on, and the main aim behind it is to help those who struggle with neural disorders, who are paraplegic, who have struggled with different brain diseases, like one of them being Alzheimer's. He believes that a chip like this could potentially be the cure for many neural diseases. But this neurochip will be inserted surgically by using a robot. So this robot will basically be planting the chip and the wires while still avoiding any damage near the brain or the blood vessels. Now, Musk says that the process takes hours and leaves only a small scar. You would think a brain implant would take a much longer time to be inserted, but he actually mentioned in his live demo that people could actually leave back home just like they would if they did LASIK surgery.
Dentist, for
or a
example.
LASIK eye surgery. So that afternoon, they'll actually be able to leave home.
Now, Omnia, you know what I'm wondering? How Elon Musk thinks of these things, you know? Does he like sit down? Because he's a billionaire. He's like, I think, the 4th richest man in the world right now.
Yeah.
Does he sit down with his group, his board of directors and his scientists, his researchers, his engineers? He's like, hey, listen, I want to control the brain. How can I do that?
He's not controlling the brain.
Not controlling the brain, but be able to tap into the brain.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, Mr. Musk is done. You want how much? $100 million budget? There you go. You got it. So I mean, because it's crazy how this man thinks about so many things, and I need this chip in his brain. I want to know what he's thinking. Because
he demoed it not on human beings, so that's another concern.
So I'm wondering how does this guy think? Because he always comes out of the. We always know to think outside of the box. This guy thinks outside of the solar system.
Quite literally. But can you imagine how the robot actually will position the person's head?
I don't know. I'm seeing this needle right now. It looks pretty scary.
It brings me a lot of anxiety. Like the robot is basically, it comes with, it's 8 feet tall, as you mentioned, and it moves along 5 axes. But the issue is you actually have to put your head in a place where the robot will be able to tightly make sure that it stays in position, and then the needle will be guided inside your head where the chip will be inserted. It has cameras, it has sensors that are all focused on the brain, but
what if I sneeze?
What if especially because he said the person would be awake.
Well, I need numbing. I can't go to the dentist without getting numbed.
You'll be numbed, but still, like...
You're gonna numb my brain?
They'll numb your head.
With my brain. I feel my brain sometimes. You don't feel your brain, Omnia?
No, I don't think anyone feels their brain.
I feel my brain.
How do you...
Go like that. Shake your head, Omnia. Let your brain hit the sides of your skull.
How can you feel your brain?
Go like this, Omnia. Do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Shake your head.
No.
Guys, if you want to see what I'm doing, you gotta tune in to our YouTube at Pulse 95 Radio on YouTube. See me shaking my skull.
I can't believe we're having this conversation. Of course you can't feel your brain.
What do you mean can't? How do you get headaches? What hurts when you have a headache?
The nerves. I don't know how
your brain
a
hurts.
Your brain doesn't physically hurt. You
yes,
can't.
It does. I have a headache.
Okay, if a brain moves so easily, why is the skull in your head? Why is there a skull protecting the brain?
How do you get knocked out, Omnia? What happens when you get knocked out?
Okay. Getting knocked out is a complete different
no, it's not.
movement than just shaking your head.
Because when you get the force that's being exerted out of the punch, kick, or whatever, is going to make your brain hit the walls of your skull.
So when you shake your head, it does the same?
You black out.
Oh, okay. I've never blacked out before, so I wouldn't know.
I have.
Of course you have.
And how did that happen, Omnia?
How did that happen?
I fell on my head.
What in the world?
Yeah, I would give them a story time, but we only got a couple minutes left until we go to a break. So
So you got knocked out.
I got knocked out.
Well, there you go. Apparently, you can feel your head. Oh, you can only get this exclusive content on Future Talk. So don't say that we don't give you a treat. You're always in for a treat. But as we mentioned, this robot will definitely be installing Elon Musk's Neuralink AI chip that will hopefully be available soon in the market. But let us know, what are your thoughts about it? Would you trust a robot to insert a brain implant? I mean, it's hard enough to think about getting a brain implant, let alone having a robot do it for you.
I'm not getting this brain implant for nothing. If he gives me like 50% of his net worth, hook me up. If he's not, no thank you, sir. Because I mean, just looking at the device, it makes my heart race a little bit.
I know.
The robot.
It's quite creepy to look at. But let us know your thoughts. Future Talk is coming to an end, but we will see you once again tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked, because the dream team, Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah, will keep you entertained, and the rest of our Pulse 95 shows will do that as well. We'll see you next time.
The Heart of Sharjah.
This is Pulse 95.
Heart of Sharjah.